Hello everybody, it's Lion from LionBricks.com. Welcome to Building a Lego City. In this series I show you how I build my new city layout. In the last update I focused on building the bottom road, and in today's video we're going to be completing the left side of the city where I've got my railway. The first thing I did was mark out where the road was going to be, making sure that it was the exact same distance away from the edge as the other side. Since I'd already semi-started building the railway in the last update, I just had to follow the design across the rest of the layout by placing down my scaffolding bricks and then laying the tracks on top. In the future I would like to change these tracks out for the silver or metal 9-volt ones, since I think they look a lot more realistic and the grey doesn't blend into the surrounding area with all of the gravel. And once again I had to build around the railway as it cuts through the border. Once I did this, the train crossing building process was fairly straightforward. I just had to copy what I did on the other side, and I started off by building the pavements. I then placed in my standard small section of road and added a little bit more detail by placing in a pothole to break up the road a little bit, literally. From this point I had the very time-consuming process of putting together the next railway crossing. These are fairly simple to look at, but I'm quite surprised by how many pieces it really takes up. I started off by just placing down all the plates I needed along the bottom, and then as you can imagine I then placed the tiles on top and the slopes to bring the road up to the higher level. I've gotten quite a few comments asking me why I didn't raise the road up to that height initially. The reason I didn't do that is because the railway would then be below ground level, and I think that looks a little bit odd since it's already 1 or 2 plates below ground level, and having that bump does create a little bit more elevation, a little bit more interest, and it sort of breaks up the road and stops it from just becoming this really flat, boring road, which is kind of the whole reason I'm building a custom layout. Once this was complete, it cut off some small sections of land that needed filling in. Once again, I want to place buildings at the same level as the pavement, so I raised it up by a brick with my nice large plates. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I just placed a couple of scaffolding bricks down and used the biggest plates I could since it's stronger. After this, I could finally come back to the first section of railway that I built and start adding details which I've wanted to do from day one. The first thing I did was just fill in all of the gaps with dark bluish grey plates so that we had a nice template to build off of. When building your own railway layout, you can choose whether you want to use black or brown rail ties. I like to use black ones since they look more industrial and they don't look so much like a western railway. Usually the rail ties nowadays are concrete or black like this, so it is quite realistic. However, I still do get quite a lot of comments asking why I do black, and that's pretty much why. Finally, I just detailed the entire thing by adding in lots of gravel around the tracks and filling in the sides with some grass. Since this area where the railway passes through the buildings is going to be very shady, I wanted to make sure that I used dark, toned down colours that don't look very vibrant since they're obviously not getting a lot of light, and I wanted to kind of make it look like there were weeds as opposed to plants thriving in the sun. As I do this, you'll notice I didn't quite have enough of those green pieces, so I will order those in the future, and you also would have seen that I didn't quite have enough parts to finish off the railway crossing. I will also order a few more parts for that as well. A lot of people ask me where I get my Lego from. I buy my Lego from bricklink.com. It's a very safe and secure way of buying individual Lego parts, and I definitely recommend it, even though this video is not sponsored by Bricklink in any way. Once I had completed this, I decided I want to build up some more of the details that I hadn't done in the last update. Now, one thing I did do was add in the drains along the road. I actually placed it every 32 studs at the start of the base plate, which means it didn't line up with the end of the road after the railway crossing, which left quite a big gap, and I decided to break my rule and just place 2 on either end anyway. I also moved the pothole so that it wasn't so symmetrical with the other side, which looks a little bit more realistic. I then decided to add in some street lamps, which are actually the same design as my previous city layout. They're the design that I see along my own street, which feels very realistic to me. It's pretty much just a wide base with a very long, narrow pole, and then of course on the very top you've got the light. A lot of people like to use translucent yellow parts. I think this is very realistic because they're only ever yellow when they're on, and in broad daylight they're never on, so I like to just use standard trans clear parts since the lights are obviously not on in the middle of the day. To incorporate them into the city, I just had to replace one of the 2x2 tiles with a 2x2 plate to fit it onto. I really enjoyed doing this, and I actually think it really helps bring the city to life, and it adds some elevation for once, which starts to make it look very interesting. But that wraps up today's video. That's all of the details I wanted to add for this update. In the next update I do plan on starting to build some buildings, so look forward to that. But until next time, thanks for watching.